Thank you for listening to the Agile Standup, the show where we talk about all things related to Agile, Scrum, and Kanban, leaving no subject professional, unprofessional, awesome, insensitive, or otherwise untouched. Today, I'm going to speak with Aaron Sanders, certified Scrum trainer, and we're going to discuss the role of the product owner on a team, story mapping, and why product owners fail.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds really good.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, let's get into what is a product owner's role on a team, and just, I guess, kind of also what is a product owner in general?
So the product owner in general is somebody that is a representative of our business. And I say that intentionally, not the business, because I feel like there's already a bit of a dysfunction in Scrum that says the product owner is a representative of the business. So it starts to objectify that and turn that into they. So when you're asking about product owner on a team, is let's talk about our business, because we all contribute to and should feel pride of ownership for the product that we're building.
So I also help out teams and kind of work with them and stuff. And I usually say the product owner is the CEO of the team. I kind of say, imagine that's what it is. What would you say to that? Agree, disagree?
I used to agree with that and talk about product champion and the CEO of the product. And I have found that giving that person that sort of authority can turn some people that are normally nice into a bit of a jerk.
Ooh, that's a great, okay. And I love that you say that, because you're exactly right. They get cocky, they get also possessive in a way so let's talk about that, because I always thought, I know in my previous place, I really love the product, and I still do. I mean, I don't work there anymore, but like I check in with it and like, oh, I kind of see how it goes, and I like to hear stories and stuff like that. So love, being really passionate about something. Is there a fine line? Where does that come in? Because when you say you're the CEO of a product, and then you have that kind of love aspect where it's like, I really want to love it, I want to drive it, I want to do a home run. Is there a fine line, or are those two different things?
That's an interesting question. So are we talking about love for the role, love for the product?
Love for the product, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then share the love, right? And as opposed to, the ego attachment of I own this product and will tell you what to do, is I have real passion and joy for this product that we're building. How can I help you see what I'm seeing? And that is that change from the business to our business. Let me help you understand what our business is, and you can let me know how you can help me achieve these goals in the product and love it as much as I do.
Pretty cool. So it's a mindset shift. It's more of like, instead of this is mine, I guess no Captain Ahab.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I guess
no mutiny.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. So we don't want that. Instead, we want the entire team to move together, share that vision. So, and I love that, actually. And I'm going to start calling on that, because share the love. That's really cool. Because I always say, in fact, I've told teams that if a product is not doing well, people don't know where to go. It's because there's no one person that loves the product. You need that person that loves it. And maybe you can start with that.
Yeah.
But sharing that love, that's how things get done.
Yes, exactly. And so having that passion, and Jeff Patton, who I used to work with, talks a lot about, and called his class for a while, the passionate product owner. So helping these folks have that kind of love and passion for a product, but then sharing that out, having other people feel that passion and also attaching to it and feeling pride of ownership for the product that they're building.
So maybe love is too strong of a word. That's maybe more dramatic than it should be.
I don't know, because there's emotional attachment matters.
Okay. Because things get done?
Well, I think so. With passion and joy comes enthusiasm for the job. Right? If I love my job, I love the product I'm building, then I probably do a better job at it. If I find it boring or dull or don't like it, then it's a little bit more difficult to show up enthusiastically. There's more of a, hey, just tell me what to do here so I can go home sort of attitude. So that passion and that emotional reaction, I think, does matter.
So on that, in the passion aspect, it seems like then it must be kind of difficult to hire a product owner midway through a product product's cycle, I guess. And I've personally experienced this where you have a product, it's kicked off, and then the product owner leaves in whatever capacity, whatever fashion. And then a new product owner comes in. Great resume, great experience, but then comes in and just doesn't do a good job or just kind of fails or flops it. So I guess going on to that, from a failure standpoint, we know that success is having a vision, getting some emotional connection to it, but sharing that emotional connection so the entire team can bask in its success and really appreciate the product for what it is. And that, of course, drives everything around it, I would think, the backbone of it. But what about failure?
What about failure? So I still think about the love and the passion, and some of that Simon Sinek talks about, and is start with why.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right.
You know, that we believe something. And so if people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so if you can help people see this belief and attach to it in an emotional way, they're buying a belief. They're not actually buying a product. So I think that's part of what we're trying to do in product ownership, is convey the purpose, the intention, the belief, the joy, the emotional reactions around a product.
Awesome. So
what about failure?
Failure. I know I was going to say, hey, how about the failure thing? Because I do want to hear, the positive and the negative. The positive being the love, sharing that vision, getting things done together, and helping each other out and growing ultimately. But then the failure aspect, and I'm not trying to dig or anything too much, but as far as what, I guess, let me explore this. What would cause a product owner to fail? Is there anything that a product owner can do maybe to avoid failure? Maybe that's a better way to pose it.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's certainly different failure modes, and I sometimes wonder, is it a failure of the system and the organization, or is it a failure of that person? So sometimes in the wrong sort of situation, a person will fail. They're somewhat hamstrung to success. So your hypothesis, or the thing we're thinking through, is here is a team, product development team, building something. Product owner is totally engaged. Everything's great. They leave, somebody new comes in, and suddenly there's failure. Right. So
exactly. That's a classic. Yeah.
So then in that case, it sounds like it is more around that person rather than the system. So
what would a system failure be like? Would that be just, hey, we don't like this product anymore as an organization? Or would it be like, we don't like what you are doing, or we don't like what the product's doing?
I think it really is dependent, of course, and is hard to guess at. What I mean is places that have a lot of rules and regulations and constraints and bureaucracy, it's tough to jump through all of those hoops and build a great product. If you're constrained by all of the processes and rules, which is antithetical to Agile, then the failure is in the system, not in the people. The people are only as good as the system they're in.
And that's a good call out, because then would you say, so we basically started with success, what a product owner is, success, some failure. What about signs of a good product owner? Would the signs of a good product owner be somebody who's able to, because you're right, there are those pressures. So the product owner kind of, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I kind of see the product owner like being not only the voice box of the consumer, basically translating what the end user wants or what the customer wants in working with the team in order to develop a solution or working software, something like that, whatever the product is. Then you have the aspect of the organization that they work for, and you got to meet this budget, and you got to meet this deadline, and you got to meet this ROI, stuff like that.
Quarterly results, who knows?
So would a sign of a good product owner be one that could not pass the negative stuff that they receive from either end onto the team? Maybe negative, vibes, if that's the right word to use here.
Sure. I would think so. And the conflict might be between profit-driven company and purpose-driven team. So if a product owner is really good at conveying purpose and the emotion and the love and the belief and the reason why we're doing things, we're creating product development teams that are very much purpose-driven and outcome-driven for the market, for the user. what impact does that have on the bottom line? Purpose-driven organizations, profit tends to follow. And when we're really attached to profit and quarterly results, sometimes we have very myopic products and more at a level of operational optimization and less about innovation. So that sort of conflict can really put that product owner in a huge place of friction, where they're responsible for that ROI and the financial numbers, yet they're trying to help a team understand the purpose and the passion. And there's the conflict.
Yeah, and that will wear on a product owner, I would assume, pretty quickly.
I would think so.
If they're not strong enough, I
Yeah.
guess. So strength in general, is that key? Regardless of agile strength, product strength, just a strong human being. Is that, I mean, cutting it down to the bare minimum as far as who would make a good product owner? Not just what are the signs of a good one.
Sure. Somebody that has thick skin.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And can take critique. I also find that somebody that is unbelievably patient and a really good listener, because we're gathering a bunch of information from many sources as a product owner and have to tune in to not only what people are saying, but the subtext behind that. So almost being able to listen to what's not said. And as people keep asking questions about, I don't get it, why are we moving in this direction? Why is this important? To patiently and calmly explain over and over in different ways to different people why we're doing what we're doing. A lot of patience, a lot of listening. Obviously being a collaborative person if you're working in some collaborative system like Scrum.
Sounds like there's a lot of similarities between that when it comes down to the human point of view and a Scrum Master too. You have to have a good level head. Not everything, of course, but I'm talking about the human element, just what you spoke about right now. Someone with a thick skin, a good listener, someone who is able to persevere, keep the vision in line.
That's right.
Go for it.
Being unrelenting in vision and having the courage to say no when it's against that vision.
Right.
So sometimes we're lucky in organizations that the product owner can own that vision and hold that authority, and other times they don't, and they become more of an order taker around do what I tell you to do. And to be able to stand up and say, well, no, that's the wrong direction, with some sort of evidence.
So, okay, and that's awesome that you said that, because I have seen that, and you have the order taker where you have maybe a director then comes down to, like, you have the product manager, director of product, or the director of product or something like that, then kind of imparts everything, and then you have the parrot, which is the product owner, just carrying out what they asked for. That's not true product owner ownership. Sorry, is that true product ownership, or is that almost like, I guess, is that just a different way to do it?
It's a different way to do it, which means you're not, in my opinion, owning it.
Ooh.
Yeah. That taking somebody else's vision. Let me put it this way. If I'm working with someone in the role of product owner and we're looking through a product backlog and there's some junk in there that makes no sense to this person, I say, well, remove it. And if they pause and hesitate and say, well, I've got to go talk to my boss or my boss's boss's boss to figure out if I can remove that or move it up or down, I have now found who the real product owner is.
Yes, and whenever you hear that, at least when I hear that, I lose faith pretty quickly. I know it sounds harsh, but when I hear that, I have to go ask, it's kind of like, aren't you the guy?
Right, aren't you the go-to?
Yeah, right.
That's right. And that's what we're looking for with product ownership, is somebody that has that vision, can work with stakeholders, users, and the team, and help orchestrate and disintermediate. So moving the teams closer to our business, moving teams closer to the market and the user, and not have this telephone game through the hierarchy of an organization. So having that person really owning it and authorized to hold that vision, understanding organizational objectives and user needs, and being able to call direction. Schwaber says Scrum guarantees you failure in 30 days or less. So there's wired into it,
right.
This idea of fail fast. So let's let our product owner hold that vision. We've hired them in the skillful position. They're supported by a collaborative team to build, hopefully, product solutions that have value to our user, it addresses some sort of need, has the right kind of experience, it's easy to use, and also is feasible to build. So one person being able to address the desires, the experience, the technology is tough. And that's where I find a product owner supported by some sort of collaborative team starts to get past this business and development dichotomy and create a balanced collaborative team to start to own that product together and move that vision forward together.
That is awesome. I love the whole owning together aspect.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Exactly. And not in a timeshare sense either.
Yeah, right. Not
I'll own it for a
time.
while and you own it for a while, but we have this some sort of co-op, right? We have
Right.
this cooperative ownership of the product we're building.
Love that. Awesome. Moving on to story mapping.
Okay.
All right. So story mapping, I have used it quite a bit personally and with a team. Personally, obviously, at a much smaller scale. But as a team, it's been a really cool activity that I've used. Definitely, I don't think I've used it quite yet at the product level, which I know is the most fun. But at the feature level, the larger feature level, I've definitely used that. When I'm at product level, I mean the actual, because I saw you
A whole end-to-end product.
Yeah, a whole end-to-end product. Haven't quite done that, but the feature, definitely.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
where a lot of people use it.
Okay, cool. And any reason for that? Is it the opportunity? Like, not many people have the opportunity to just go, hey, I'm going to do this from end to end.
Right. I've got this vision for a product and I want to start to map that whole thing out. There is some sort of boundary of this is the area that I develop product in. It might not be whole product, or even if it is, we're not building the product end to end. We're coming up with some amount of features. So as we're focused in on one or two features, mapping that out and not having this feeling of boiling the ocean of the whole product. Yeah, I mean, it's just a natural fit to look at a feature or maybe a couple of interoperating features and map that out, because that's the next thing we're going to release.
Now, on to story mapping. One thing that I found kind of interesting is there's a story, what would you call it, story spine? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, there you go, which is kind of the overarching theme. Or not theme, excuse me. It's kind of the, I guess, I don't know. The way that I would probably say it is that it's just a massive, it's like a big user story that kind of encapsulates your box, I guess, whether it's a feature, a product. Am I correct in saying that, or am I off? And please correct me.
I think we're on track.
Okay.
And I think of that story spine, or what Jeff Patton, who helped apply story mapping. I'm not quite sure how to say this, because if you say Jeff Patton invented story mapping, they'll say, no, I didn't. I applied a pattern out of user experience and mental modeling and journey mapping into product backlog and mapping that out in 2 dimensions rather than the single dimensional stack rank of a product backlog, is putting it in a couple of dimensions. So that story spine, or the backbone, is looking at some sort of end-to-end experience through a feature, through a product, but at a higher level than the really detailed little stories.
Okay. And to kind of bring it back for everybody, if we didn't talk about it already, but what a story map is, the story mapping activity is to basically map out the sequence of events, and then we're going to be able to hopefully derive stories or derive actions leading up to those events in order to help us create user stories. Basically tell a story through identifying events. Is that accurate?
Sure. User-centered design talks a lot about user tasks and user activities. So activities are usually some sort of goal that a person has, getting ready for work in the morning, something like that. And then there's a bunch of tasks. I take a shower, I brush my teeth, I cook the breakfast. And so those discrete tasks add together into some sort of activity, which is the goal of those different tasks. So the story spine might be a series of activities to get to an even larger outcome or a larger goal. But
is it appropriate to then start breaking things into, geez, the D word, deliverables. Is it possible to break it into deliverables and kind of say, hey, here's what I'm going to deliver here, or maybe sets of things that we want to iterate on? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I find a real handy aspect of the story map is to come up with an incremental release plan. So we have the story spine that's looking at a very large end-to-end experience flowing through some aspect of a product or a feature, and has a narrative flow. So the left to right aspect of a story map is to tell a story in a logical way. So it has this once upon a time, this happened, and then until the end. So we're trying to flatten out something that isn't so straightforward. If you think about most products, I can jump in and out of them in different areas. So it's not to say this is the only way to flow through a product or a feature. It's just a logical way to see and say some sort of product level story. And then as we continue to journey through that, we're thinking in finer detail what tasks add up into these activities, so that we can figure out a series of tasks and activities that the user would perform that leads into an outcome. And outcomes really are meant to be, well, I mean, they're things that come out.
Yeah, right.
And they change user behavior. They can do something different and better that they couldn't do before.
In a story mapping exercise, would we want to include stakeholders?
Absolutely. Okay. Yes. They can remind us of the overall organizational strategy, different measures that we're going for, why this matters to the bottom line, the directions we're trying to head in from an organizational perspective.
So with stakeholders included, because I know me personally working with stakeholders, it can kind of turn into and then I want. With the story mapping activity underway, and in the room when you have the dev team, you have the product owners, the scrum master, basically everybody that's going to be working on the product, and the stakeholders. What happens when you have a really passionate stakeholder that just keeps wanting and it's more and more and more and more and more? Do you harsh that creativity by kind of saying hey, calm down, we'll get to to that in just a second, or that'll be next time we meet? Or do you just let them come out and just say, tell me everything you want, and then let's look at it and discuss and move things around from there?
Well, one of the things I'm thinking about as you say that is when I can shift a stakeholder from I want into users say. So if you think about this idea of a user story map, we're trying to tell stories from the user's perspective. And with storytelling and writing, there's also a notion of begin with the end in mind. So I like to set the stage that we're mapping out these journeys through our product as if this product is already running defect-free in production. So let's get into the mind of our users, the people that are really touting our product, and listen to and try to capture the stories that they're saying. So it's less about a stakeholder saying, this is what I need in the product, but thinking about, hey, this product's already out there. People are using it. Who's using it? What are they saying about it?
I love that. One of the favorite things that I've heard, and I don't know who said it, maybe you know who said it, but the reason why we use user stories is because humans are great at telling stories. Have you heard that?
I have heard that, and I don't know who said it.
I don't know who said it either, but that's what you just said pretty much reminds me of that, because it's hey, who? We want to talk about who and what story are they telling, because that's the most telling part of the entire process.
And it's an ancient practice, storytelling.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, and having these people that their whole thing is holding stories and telling them in a very compelling way. And that storytelling helps enliven this idea and generate that vision in the listener's mind. If you hear a good story, fiction, nonfiction, whatever, from a storyteller, you almost go there. You vicariously experience what that person is talking about. So it's helping this other person see what is in your head, see what you're seeing, your vision. That's the purpose of this storytelling. And Ken Beck, who came up with this idea of the story, to get us to discuss and tell these stories and help enliven and see things together collectively. I don't know. Now it sounds like mass hallucination. But to have this shared vision, the shared understanding of the product through storytelling.
And on that, thank you for playing along with us today on the Agile Stand-Up. Today I spoke with Aaron Sanders and discussed the role of the product owner on a team, some ways that they can succeed and fail, some stories there, of course, story mapping, and just product owners in general. Aaron focuses on helping people enjoy working together, making things people like using. People forget his name, so he goes by This Agile Guy as it's easier to remember. Aaron focuses on helping teams and organizations feel the pride of ownership for their products. Check out thisagileguy.com for more information. So Aaron, how'd that go?
I think it went great.
I think it went really cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate the info, and I learned a lot.
Well, thanks for having me. I too appreciate this back and forth.
Yeah, no, man, it's good stuff. So other than that, I don't think we have any impediments. We're pretty good to go, right?
Right.
I love it.
Cool.